You know, I'm not getting any younger, and I am running out of time, so I better get this opened up. Hey there, today I have a CGC unboxing, and in this video I'm going to open up this shipment of 15 comic books that were professionally graded by CGC. But before they were, I sent them to Palm Beach Presser, who cleaned and pressed these books and then forwarded them on to CGC on my behalf. So Palm Beach Presser, once again, I really appreciate your time, your effort, the dedication to trying to get the best grade possible for my books. I really appreciate it. But I do feel like I have a pretty good process that I've been trying out and am going with and using, but everything seems to be taking a little bit longer these days, and I am kind of worried because there are times where I think about my exit strategy from the hobby, and while I don't think I'm quite there yet, it is something that I'm thinking about planning on, and certainly just want to time it right. I don't want to necessarily burden my family after I'm gone with just short box after short box or graded books and having somebody come in and just say, you know, give you $100 for everything. There's things that I worry about, things that I feel like I want to start planning on. And one of the reasons why I feel like I am running out of time a little bit is because the process to consign books with MCS is great, that my comic shop. I have had a number of successful transactions, but it's taking about 2 full months just to get my books available for pricing. And while I'm not in any hurry per se, it is kind of nice when I have the books available for sale, because if I ever did really feel crunched for time, I could just flip them to auction, just like you could on eBay, a buy it now situation. Just flip them to auction, let the auction run, and off they go, and you'll basically take less than you probably would get for a buy it now situation. But I think for me, it's really just the process, the sort of door-to-door process. CGC has been taking a little bit longer. Frankly, the only one that really keeps up with his commitments is Palm Beach Presser. So Ron, I really appreciate you very much. But I want to get this unboxed. I want to give a special homage and a shout out once again to folks like Bat Ombre, who love the content. They love when the cat makes an appearance, but they are getting a little tired of me talking about comics. So I want to just give a shout out to them, but I'm going to talk about the comics anyway. But in order to do that, I have to unbox this shipment. I have not looked at the grades as always, so you'll see them moments before I reveal the grade. Nice mixture of fun books, different eras, all books that I felt like had some sort of pressable defect or area of improvement. So let me get this opened up so you can see which books I had cleaned and pressed by Palm Beach Presser, where I will share his grader notes and his estimates as far as what he thinks the books should get, and then we'll once and for all see the grades that CGC gave to the books. Let's get into it. All right, let's go. We have the first book, which is Sheena 3D Special number 1 from Blackthorn Comics. This is from 1985. This is a Dave Stevens book. Palm Beach Presser, I don't know if you're tired of seeing Dave Stevens books that I send you or if you love it every time, but nevertheless, this is one of my favorites. I talk about different tiers of Stevens books. Certainly the Planet Comics behind me that Palm Beach Presser worked on, I think is in a top tier, and this is probably maybe in a second or third tier. This to me is maybe if you feel like the Jungle Comics, which has a very kind of similar aesthetic to this one, if the Jungle Comics cover by Dave Stevens is a little bit out of range for you, as it kind of is for me right now, then this would be maybe a runner-up. But a very lovely cover on this. Palm Beach Presser noted a small color break on the spine, very light spine corner wear. I had originally estimated this book as a 9.2, and Palm Beach Presser gave it a 9.6 plus, and CGC gave it a 9.8 white pages. Excellent. Fantastic start. Just a beautiful, gorgeous book. Love the teal that kind of fades up into the shadows of the tree. Obviously, the art featuring Sheena, and I've always loved this one because of the side eye from the parrot there. Awesome, love it. 9.8 on Sheena 3D Special. And if you're looking for that book, I've mentioned this before, it's sometimes a difficult book to search for because it could be Jerry Iger's Sheena, Queen of the Jungle 3D, #1, Sheena 3D Special. Sometimes it goes by Blackthorn 3D. There's a number of ways to find that book, but nevertheless, great start on that one. Next is X-Men number 11. This is from 1992. This, I wish, I said this before with the John Romita Jr. covers. I kind of wish I had been a little bit smarter about how I, maybe sent books for just standard grading versus maybe sending them off for signature series. Some of the timing was off. It wasn't necessarily my fault, but this would have been a great book to send off because Jim Lee is there at CGC and signing right now. I think the deadline may have just come and gone or it's about to run out. But I did end up sending a couple of books in, getting the Hush team to sign some books, but would have loved to have sent this one in for so many reasons, this great 1990s X-Men cover. And this one I had estimated a 9.2. Palm Beach said there's some light wear at the top spine corner with color loss, but he still said a 9.8 probable on X-Men 11. And let's see what CGC said as they gave it a 9.6. This one's tough because it's super easy to find and there's plenty of copies. So a 9.6 is just not going to have the kind of value where the 9.8 typically kind of settles in somewhere in the $75 to $125 range. And I know you could make that statement for any book that doesn't get a 9.8, but some of these that are like really, really easy to find, overproduced, large supply, it's not just that the value drops off, it's just that the desirability drops off just because, frankly, these books from the 90s, you can just probably just keep them raw. That's a tough one to get in a 9.6. But like I've said many times, you just keep moving on. And we're going to move on to Masters of the Universe #1. This is from 1982. And this is the first appearance of the Masters of the Universe characters in comic books. So as the Masters of the Universe live action feature film is well underway, I think this will end up being an important book in the long run. I had estimated that this book was an 8.5 raw, and I sent it to Palm Beach Presser, who noted very small spine color breaks, very minor spine corner blunting, and he said a 9.6 possible on this one. So let's see if it did get the bump up from an 8.5 all the way to the estimated 9.6, and CGC ended up giving it the 9.6 white pages on this. And so that's great. That's a tremendous grade bump on this one. And I'd had 2 copies of this and ended up sending both to CGC, and I got the 9.8 on the one that I did think was a little bit stronger. And yeah, I can totally see what he's saying. There's a little bit, there's a couple of hairline color breaking ticks, but then there's one that's quite significant right up here by He-Man's axe. So I think I'm okay with this. It got white pages to me. It also looks a little bit faded up in here. But one of the things too is when I do get a grade that I'm not necessarily looking for, or I do have a copy in a higher grade, part of my exit strategy is to take the books that are either raw or graded that have the lesser grade and go ahead and let them go and send them off for consignment. For whatever reason, I've always been a collector where if I have one copy, I want to hold on to that one copy. It doesn't really excite me to have like a short box of all the same comic book. Now, of course, if it's a grail, that's a whole different story. But in terms of the books that I collect, it's more fun for me to get the one book and try to maximize the grade. And then ultimately, the end game for me is to have it signed by the creators in some way, the cover artist, the writer, interior, penciler, inker. And so in an upcoming CGC unboxing very soon, I'll show you the results from one of the Signature Series events that I ended up participating in. But that's kind of the end game for me. And so the books that don't necessarily meet that criteria, it actually gives me a little freedom knowing that I can move on from them. And the process that I have with my comic shop is letting me do just that. Next up is Infinity Inc. number 17. This is from 1985. This is pre-90s Todd McFarlane. I think we can see some elements of Spawn here on the cover. One of Todd McFarlane's early comic book works. This one I had estimated 9.4. This one's going to be tough too. Palm Beach noted wear with fibers at spine corners, light color rub at the bottom staple on the front cover, and he gave it a 9.4 plus. Let's see what CGC gave this one. Boy, Ron, you're spot on in this submission so far. 9.4 white pages on this one. That's a little tough. I'm sure the value of this is right around probably what my total cost was to acquire it, plus all of the grading fees, pressing fees, and shipping and all of that. So I'll try and look out for maybe a better copy and try again with Infinity 17. Speaking of Signature Series, if the Todd Father ever goes back to CGC, although I don't know why he would. I mean, he spent, I don't know how much time there and how many books he had to sign, but, you know, getting that book in a 9.8 or having a 9.8 candidate, that is a book that I think would command some value just because of it being one of his early works. Would be interesting to get his signature. Next is Magic #2. This is a new release. This is from April of 2025. That's the cover date, which is usually 2 to 3 months in advance. So I got this early in the year, and I felt like it just was not quite good enough as is to send in a 9.8 pre-screen. I had noticed a couple of defects on it, and this was one of those covers, cover art by Pablo Villalobos, where I just kind of knew I had to have it. I am a sucker for Magic covers. Villalobos, one of the more popular modern cover artists, and I had estimated a 9.4. Palm Beach Presser gave no greater notes and said 9.8 probable. So let's see what Magic #2, this retailer incentive from 2025, got back from CGC, and it got a 9.8, and it's exactly what I wanted. Thank you very much. I was not convinced that it was going to be able to get a 9.8 without a little bit of help, and Palm Beach was exactly the help I needed. Just a absolutely gorgeous, magnificent cover here. Love it. So have to be careful where I display this one. Some of these books like this, they will actually start to heat up, and if you look at them or stare at them for too long, they just burst into flames. So I'm going to go ahead and put this here. Let's start to cover up the 9.4s. Let's do that. So just try not to stare at the book too much. I can't be responsible for anything that happens to you. Next up is She-Hulk #6. This is from 2006. This is cover art by Greg Horn. He was doing all of the covers of this run of She-Hulk. And this was just a straight value pickup. I found this book for a really, really good deal. And it does have some value in a 9.8, particularly for the storyline. Star Fox might be a book that not really a fan of, even if it did get a 9.8, might need to move on from it. Sometimes that happens. There's books that are collectible, but I'm just not a fan of, and this could be one of those cases. I had given the book a 9.6. Palm Beach Presser did not have any greater notes for this one either and gave it a 9.8 likely, and CGC gave it a 9.8. All right, so there are times where I might include a book that I think is in good shape, has good value, but it's not for the PC. This is probably one of those books where I will probably send it off to MCS straight away and get it in the queue for consignment. And what this does is it helps recover and recoup some of the costs involved with all of this process. And so that's great to get a 9.8 on this one. I remember this particular run of She-Hulk getting some extra attention because of the Disney Plus She-Hulk show. So I think because the show fell out of favor with fans, the series kind of did too. But surprisingly, that one still has a little bit of value. Speaking of value, Amazing Spider-Man 249. This is from 1984. This again, right in that era, Hobgoblin, Kingpin, Spider-Man, long drawn out stories, connected stories, great rogues gallery, villains, all of that. I had originally thought this was a John Romita Jr. cover. This is actually cover up by John Byrne, and Romita Jr. did the interior pencils. But Amazing Spider-Man, kind of just a staple of my collection. And just trying to get as many in a 9.8 as possible of the original Amazing Spider-Man series. This one also, no greater notes from Palm Beach Presser. And I'd like to point out too, just contact Ron, take a look at his services and everything he offers as the greater notes and estimates is an additional service. So you'll want to just contact him and make sure that if it is something that you want, make sure that you add that on to your invoice. I find them to be very valuable as it helps me learn, and also he catches things that I miss all the time, so I really appreciate the notes. But a lot of times, sometimes a book doesn't need any notes, and he thought this was a 9.8 probable. Let's see what CGC said. Amazing Spider-Man 249. Again, I think Ron's batting 1,000 on this one. I feel like he's gotten every grade correct so far. A 9.8. The only thing I will say, this is off-white to white pages. I think this is my only 9.8 of ASM 249. So I'll end up holding on to it, but I'll try to see if I have another copy or try to get something else in white pages. But still very, very happy to get this one in a 9.8 as well. All right, I'm hoping that Ron is eventually wrong, but in the right direction. So still holding out for that, but he's doing great so far. Let's keep it going with another amazing Spider-Man. This is ASM 259, also from 1984. This with cover art by Ron Frenz. And I just realized I got ASM 249 and 259 confused. 249, Palm Beach noted minor color loss at the top spine corner, and he gave it a 9.8 minus. That was the previous book that got a 9.8. This is ASM 259, 9.8 probable, no greater notes, and CGC gave it a 9.8 as well. A 9.8 white pages on this one. I love this Ron Frenz cover. It's just a complete throwback. I think you could see the inspiration to Ditko on this too. Really just feels like a cover that belongs in maybe the late 60s, something around that era. And then, yeah, it's the origin of Mary Jane, but yep, gotta have the Hobgoblin in here. Sort of like Doctor Doom being in every issue of Fantastic Four. Hobgoblin was all over the place in ASM around this time. So very cool. 9.8 white pages on ASM 259. And now we move on to Tomb of Dracula, number 61. This is from 1977. I feel like I've had a streak of bad luck, or frankly, I don't remember the last Tomb of Dracula I got it on a 9.8, and I'm probably jinxing myself right now. I had screened this book myself as a 9.2. Palm Beach noted spine corner wear with small bindery tear, printer's crease on the back at bottom edge, 9.6 possible. And CGC gave it a 9.4. All right, combination of being wrong and right on this one. I had it as a 9.2, so it did get the grade bump up to a 9.4, but I have the hardest time with Tomb of Dracula trying to get these in a 9.8. Still a great grade, 9.4 white pages from 1977. Marv Wolfman, Gene Colan, Tom Palmer, magenta background. So very happy there to get the grade bump, but was really kind of needing those in a 9.6 or above, but I'll keep trying on those Tomb books, or I'll just go back to more Amazing Spider-Man. Here it is, Amazing Spider-Man 258. This is from 1984. This also cover art by Ron Frenz. This is such a great image here. Peter Parker being wrestled with by both the classic red and blue Spider-Man and the black and white symbiote Spider-Man, as this, again, was another theme of this era of dealing with the costumes, the alien symbiote costume, and sort of an identity crisis as well. Just great storytelling and such a great idea. And this is just a fun, awesome cover with the black and white debris in the background, things kind of spiraling out of control on the cover and for Peter Parker. And this one, ASM 258, I have screened as a 9.6. Palm Beach Presser did not provide any greater notes other than 9.8 possible, and CGC gave this one a 9.4. Oh man. I'll have to check and see if there are greater notes for this one, but my goodness, the book looks super nice and clean. I mean, I don't see any issues along the spine, which is one of the reasons why I decided to send it in, so that's really unfortunate. I know I've been told in the past, just crack and resubmit or crack and have it repressed, but I typically just kind of move on from these, so that's actually a disappointment just because it looks so good. And I think I've said this before, like sometimes I get like a really nice submission where the grades all hit, and then I get one where the grading seems a little stingy, and I feel like the last several submissions it's been mixed. Like to me, that book's a 9.8 all day. Whereas some of the other 9.8s, you can see that one defect that CGC kind of allows, and it's kind of troubling to me, but also it's hard for me to start telling the difference. So that's a bummer. 9.4 on ASM 258. Let's try this one. Incredible Hulk 197. This is from 1976. This one is super interesting because it's a Bernie Wrightson cover featuring the Man-Thing. So we have Hulk battling Man-Thing on this cover art by Wrightson, which, if you think about it, is absolutely the right artist to be on a Man-Thing Hulk comic book issue. This is tremendous, and it is something that I think I will overlook sometimes, like some specific artist being on a specific issue. If it's kind of mixed in with other books, it just kind of passes you by, and this is one that I took notice of and became really fond of because of the Wrightson cover specifically. And when I had picked the book up and screened it, I gave it an 8.5. But because those that know about this book end up valuing it pretty highly, the 9.8 has a ton of value, but there's also some value in grades under 9.8. And so that's why I decided to send this in, because I wasn't sure if it was truly a 9.8 candidate, but I did feel like it was going to end up being better than 8.5. Palm Beach noted a small crease line at the top right corner, where at the spine corners, general light covered dullness and non-cleanable soiling. And that's an interesting grader note, because it's the same thing my doctor just told me that I had. So kind of weird. But the estimated grade from Palm Beach Presser is a 9.4/9.2, and CGC gave it a 9.4 white pages. So interesting with the note about the cover dullness, non-cleanable soiling, and other things. For me, it was just the stress around the staples that were really obvious, and ended up getting a 9.4 white pages. So there you go figure. But this is a gorgeous book, and there is some value here in the upper nines. So if you don't get a 9.8 on it, it's still a book worth checking out, especially if you're a Bernie Wrightson fan or a Man-Thing fan, Bronze Age horror, that sort of thing. This is something that has a little bit of additional collectability in that genre. All right, we got 4 more to go here. Next is Uncanny XMen 155. This is from 1982. It is the newsstand edition. Palm Beach noted light wear at spine corners. I'd originally estimated this as a 9.2. He gave it a grade estimate of 9.6, 9.8. And Uncanny XMen 155 from CGC got a 9.8. Absolutely love it. This is the first appearance of the Brood, which is a kind of a recurring set of characters. The Brood Queen, the alien race just became, good fodder, and the ability for creators to create epic battles. And this is their first appearance, and it's super nice to get this newsstand copy in a 9.8 to add to my X-Men run. Okay, next we have another Incredible Hulk. This is Incredible Hulk 344 from 1988. Another book that I may end up holding on to in case Todd McFarlane goes back to CGC. This was a book that I did not submit during the last Signature Series round. I did get ASM 328 with Spiderman and the Hulk on the cover, but he is known for having his run on Incredible Hulk as part of his run at Marvel. So these books are definitely fun and collectible. And also, it could be a little bit of a design or conceptual idea that he also borrowed for ASM 300. I'm seeing a lot of similarities here. It's why I've always loved Incredible Hulk 344. And I had originally screened this book as a 9.4. However, Palm Beach Presser noted light wear at the bottom spine corner with slight color loss, and he gave it a 9.6 tilde. But let's see what CGC said. Incredible Hulk 344 from 1988, and Ron is back to being correct. 9.6 white pages. Tough on this one, man. I really thought this had a shot, but I see what he's saying. Absolutely, the light color wear. I don't think it was that bad. Obviously, I'm aware there's not a 9.7 grade, but this is a 9.7. That's exactly how I'd classify it, because it really could go either way. The color loss is certainly evident, but especially with this ad in the back, wow, just an incredibly tough book to get in a 9.8. So if you do see this out in the wild and you see a nice clean copy, definitely pick it up, or you can even consider paying a premium for it, because it's just difficult to get in a 9.8. 2 more to go. Hopefully this is a strong finish. We've got Transformers number 2 from 1984. Second appearance of all of the major Transformers here. Absolutely love the first 4 issues. Takes me right back to my childhood, this limited series that they ended up converting into a regular series, and did not start over and renumber the series, which I love. So I love picking this up in hopes to get the first 4 in a 9.8. And I had screened this book as a 9.2. Palm Beach noted wear at the top spine corner with fibers, and his estimate was a 9.6/9.8, and CGC gave this book a 9.6. This submission is it's teetering borderline disappointment to very acceptable grades, and just giving the book a once over. I just have to move on because it's another book. It looks tremendous. I don't see anything wrong with the book except for the part that Ron noted, just the fibers, but a lot of times that's just kind of the way the books were manufactured and how the paper was kind of cut. That is not wear from a human being. So just really disappointing. That the thing for me that wasn't noted anywhere was the light ink staining, but then I think that's part of like the printing process and the rolling of the ink on the cover. But it got white pages, 9.6, so none of that matters. So really tough, but I think we can finish strong if this book gets a high grade, and I'm hoping that it does. This is an example of me sending 2 or 3 books in with the submissions rather than an entire submission just like this, with books like this, with keys, significant keys, with value. Kind of like I did before with the Planet Comics, I did it with this submission, Omega Men #3 from 1983, the first appearance of Lobo. A lot of excitement right now because Jason Momoa is on board with playing Lobo, and he makes his first appearance in the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow live action film, where it seems like DC's just creating these singular standalone movies, but including other characters and trying to really kind of build up or rebuild the DC cinematic universe. So Momoa makes the switch from Aquaman to Lobo, and if done right, which it sounds like that's perfect casting, he loves the character, he's enthusiastic about it. So if it all works out, I think people will fall in love with that character and certainly seek out his first appearance. I picked this book up at auction, paid a little bit for it to get it, but thought this one had a shot at a 9.8, so I wanted to send this in. I had screened this book as is as a 9.2. Again, small fibers at spine corners, similar to the Transformers book that I just looked at. So the Transformers book got a 9.6/9.8, and Palm Beach Presser is estimating 9.8/9.6 on this. Let's see what CGC gave Omega Man #3 from 1983, and it got a 9.8. So thank you, CGC, for salvaging this submission. That was a little bit painful there for a few of those books in order. But here we go. First, Lobo on Omega Men #3, getting a 9.8. Absolutely gorgeous. Looks fantastic. And another one of those books that I had bid on that was around the VF minus to VF plus range, somewhere in that 7.5, 8.5, where I felt like as long as I could see no color loss or color damage, then those were the books that I was targeting for bidding, and this was certainly one of those. So thank you, Palm Beach Presser, for helping me acquire this key in a 9.8. CGC, I'll say thank you for grading the books and getting them back to me, but a few of them were absolutely questionable. Again, I would give many of them a 9.7 if I could. But a wonderful assortment of books. These are exactly the books that I love to pick up and collect and send in for this process. Would love to get your feedback. If you are submitting books to CGC, what your experience has been. It really feels like a mixed bag these days, which is making it a little bit harder to predict the grades. But could just be me and the type of books that I'm selecting, but would love to get your feedback too. Thanks for watching. Happy collecting, and see you next time.